Hi everyone, I'm Marcy, and today I'm going to show you how to make perfect masa for tamales. I know this can be intimidating for a lot of people, and it's just tempting to buy the masa already prepared from the Mexican market. But I'm telling you, once you get the hang of this, you're going to love making your own. This masa spreads smoothly, the taste is perfect, and making your own also saves you some money. So here's what you're going to need. 2 cups or 1 pound of lard. You can also use pork fat, which is sold in little containers at Mexican markets. You're going to need 6 cups of corn masa mix. I use Maseca brand, the kind that shows that it's for tamales on the packaging. You'll need 1 tablespoon baking powder, 1 tablespoon salt, approximately 5 cups of either beef, pork, or chicken stock. Just depends on whatever kind of tamales you're making. I'm making pork tamales today, so this is what was rendered from when I cooked the pork, and I've got a little extra just in case. And then at the end, I'm going to be adding some red chili sauce to give that masa a pretty red color. So I've got about a cup here, but we'll see how much we're going to use of that. We sort of eyeball that part when we get to it. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be using a stand mixer today, and to it I'm first going to be adding in the lard, and we're just going to whip it up until it becomes light and airy. This is not something that can be rushed. It takes a minimum of 15 minutes, which is why I like to let the stand mixer do the work for me. So while that's whipping, in a large bowl I'm going to measure out 6 cups of Maseca. Then I'm going to add in the baking powder and the salt. Give it all a good mix, and then check back in on the stand mixer. The lard has been whipping for a little more than 15 minutes, and it's looking like a light meringue. So at this point, I'm going to begin adding in the Maseca mixture a little at a time. And as I do that, I begin adding the liquid a little at a time too. Let it continue mixing, and then every time you add in more of the Maseca, add in more of the liquid until all the dry ingredients are absorbed into the masa and you've used 5 cups of stock. Then let it continue mixing another 15 minutes. There's a whole lot of whipping in this recipe, but that's the secret to perfect fluffy masa. After those additional 15 minutes of mixing, this masa looks really good, but we need to test it to make sure that it's good enough for spreading. So what you want to do is grab a glass of water and then take just a tiny bit of the masa and drop it into the water. And if it floats to the top, you're good to go. So this masa is definitely ready, but if for some reason yours didn't float, it's not a big deal, so don't panic. All you need to do is just add a little more of your stock to your masa and let it continue to mix just a few minutes more, and you should be good. Now, if you were going to be making some green chili tamales, like say green chili chicken, you would just use the masa as is and go ahead and start spreading it onto your hojas. But since I'm going to be making red chili pork tamales, I'm going to add some of this red chili sauce to give it just a really pretty red color. Not only does it add more of the chili flavor to the tamales, it also makes it easier to spot them. Like say I was making both red and green tamales, you can tell them apart because some of that red color will seep through the corn husks. Mix the chili in until you have a consistent red-colored masa, and we're ready to start assembling our tamales. I filled the bottom of a large steamer pot with water and placed the rack insert on top. And I've had my corn husks or hojas soaking in hot water for a few hours so they become more pliable. So now that my masa is ready, I've got my apron on, I've got my workstation all set up, and we're ready to get this party started. So I'm going to grab my first hoja or corn husk. And what you're going to want to do is just feel it with your fingertips, and you'll notice that one side is definitely rougher than the other, and we're going to be putting the masa on the smoother side. And what you're going to do is you're going to want to spread it from about the halfway point on down. Now I'm using a Tamales spreader. I've had this thing for years. I don't even remember where I got it. If you don't have one though, you can use a spatula or the back of a spoon. Either will work just fine. But you just spread it on here nice and smooth. And then we add the meat. And you don't want to skimp on this part because you want a good meat to masa ratio. And I've got plenty anyway. Then what you do is you fold this side first. Then you flip this side over and fold up the tail. And you've got your first tamal. Now we keep going. Now you just repeat the process, spreading, filling, and folding as you go. That is the last of the pork meat. So that means this is my last tamal. All done. Finally, take the filled pot over to the stove and with the burner set to medium-high, get those tamales steaming. Cook time should be about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, depending on how high the burner is set and how many tamales are packed in there. You just want them to cook until the masa easily separates from the husk. These tamales look perfect. They fall out of the husk very easily. And the masa just holds together nicely, but it looks very, very moist. So let's see how this tastes. They're still kind of hot. You're gonna love this. It is so delicious, it almost melts in your mouth. The masa is just, like I said, really, really moist. And because you added that red chili to it, it's just so much more flavorful. I think you're really gonna like this. Now, if you wanna know how I made the red chili pork meat, I'm gonna share that video next week. But in the meantime, be sure to check out my recipe for green chili, chicken, and cheese tamales. That video is coming up next. But right now, I'm gonna finish enjoying this. Thanks so much for checking out this video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss any one of my recipes. I also invite you to follow me at Marcy Inspired on Instagram and Facebook. Until next time, blessings from my kitchen to yours.